This episode is brought to you by Hoob. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Talking Triathlon, a podcast where James Bale talks to Tim Ford about the sport of triathlon. Jimbo, mate, welcome back to another episode. How's things going? What's going on in Jimbo's world?
Yeah, things are good, mate. Things are good. I feel energized. The year is coming. It's coming to life. We've had a few sunny days over the weekend. Even though it's pissing it down and dark and horrible now, I'm still feeling energized from having my bald head have a little bit of vitamin D on it. But I'm just noticing I haven't shaved for about 3 weeks. I keep forgetting to shave and I'm getting a bit beardy, so I need to do something about that. How are you, mate?
I'm very, very well, thank you, Jimbo. Although I like, just for people, a bit of a sneak behind the curtain. When we jumped on the call this morning to start this, we have normally chat for like 10 minutes before or whatever. And James was so enthusiastic when we started the call that it actually like, I recoiled a little bit because I'm just so, like, it's normally like, hey, but this is like, hey, mate. I was like, Jesus, what the hell is happening? So, and it's my turn because I've had a big week of training and I'm just, that you get to like Friday and you've been working all week and you've been training all week and you're just a bit flat. That's me this morning. So it's opposite. So I'm the one who's complaining about being tired and James is the one full of energy. So I probably should let you do the introduction, mate, to be honest.
Mate, I did a half marathon on Sunday.
Yeah, you did.
Which was local to me. And it was like I titled it on Strava, the final boss of my hip testing. Because I thought if I can just go and run a half marathon, zone 2, without breaking a sweat and without any major hip dramas or issues, then that will prove that I am past that little road bump in the road on the way to the marathon. And I managed that. So that put me in a really good frame of mind. I got a bit sick Tuesday, Wednesday. I had a bit of a headache. And so I had a couple of chilled days. And now I feel like I'm bouncing back. And yeah, I'm really happy with that half marathon result. Just zone 2ing out like a 150 something. I was happy.
Thank congratulations. Not obviously for the half marathon, but for the hip being good because I know that we are. I'll be honest. I've been thinking, fuck. I hope he's not injured for this marathon again because I know like it was meant to be the perfect thing last year for your 40th, and it sort of fell through. So yeah, fingers crossed everything goes well. Man. I've dropped hills from my program this week and switched them with some tempo running. And I did a set on, I tried to run back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday, and then at the moment it's Friday, Sunday, but I'm going to eventually go Friday, Saturday, Sunday as well. So instead of doing hills on Wednesday, I did a set of 8 times 4 minutes tempo pace, which for me is about 4:15 roughly per kilometer. I don't know what that is in miles for our American listeners. But when I do it, I always I don't like to run and watch the watch. I like to sort of just fall into what feels natural and hopefully maintain it. So I did, and I was fine for the first 6, and by the end I was like actually starting to struggle quite hard. It was very hard, whatever. Got home, I think I averaged 4:10 pace for the 8-minute efforts, which I was pretty happy about. I think maybe I'm not as unfit as I thought I was, or blah blah blah. Checked the file, and my heart rate was like basically threshold the whole time. And I'm like, okay, so I can run threshold at least. Wasn't the point of the session, but there's a bit of work to be done with my fitness because my heart rate was, it was, like I said, it was a bit hot, but not that big a jump in my heart rate. So it was just a bit funny.
It's good to be able to maintain it though. At least you didn't notice that until you checked the file, if you know what I mean.
It was particularly hard. Like, I was fucked, but yeah. So I'm like, okay, that's why it was. I should have probably gone. Well, this does feel a bit harder than it should be, but I kept going. Oh, it's just the heat. It's just the heat. It's just the humidity. It's just the humidity. It's like no, it's just the fitness. But that's why we love it, mate. You can't just always be good. You've got to build back and.
Yeah, it's very strange. Like my rehab coach was like, right, I want you to go out and run basically the first half of this half marathon at ridiculous slow pace. I was running like 5:50, 5:45, 5:50 per K. And so I was like,
you mean walking?
A bit. Yeah, but and they basically said do that. And then if you get to halfway and your hip hasn't built to any pain or anything, then you can start easing through it. But they said it's a really good way to test rather than going out and running into an injury. Test it, make sure it can keep up with the load and then build through it. So that second half of the half marathon was really good fun, going up through the gears and getting faster and faster and faster. But the first half was a bit of a drag, mate, I tell you.
I honestly think it's the best way to train for marathons is to just such a focus on that negative split. You know, like every Friday, my 21K that I run, I always run that 14K relatively easy. So I get there at like 4:55 pace if I'm not feeling great 5 minutes. And then just come home those last 8K at, probably like 4:15 to 4:20 pace. And when you nail it, it's great. I always do it. Sometimes it's just particularly hard. But I think, the biggest thing people don't realize is just how much the back end of a marathon sucks. So the more you can do to prepare your legs in particular for running fatigued, it's a good skill. So anyway, this isn't a training podcast. This is a professional triathlon podcast. But if you want to discuss some training tips, the best place to do it is at patreon.com/talking triathlon, because we have a WhatsApp group where people discuss all sorts of things. We also have a fair few number of pro triathletes in there too, Jimbo. So they're always happy to answer a few little training questions. And we have obviously Tom Epton from the Running Algorithm, who always helps people out with their running questions as well. So if you do want to get some indirect assistance or just put things out there and get people's thoughts, that's what seems to happen along the WhatsApp group. It is a great place, mate, and it also supports this podcast. I would like to, James, thank all of our patrons and everybody who did join up last month, because I made a nice big donation to my fundraiser for the Melbourne Marathon. I donated all of February's patron money to my fundraiser, and has put me very, very close to 50% of my goal now. So again, thank you. If you want to donate as well, you didn't want to join up for Patreon, which is absolutely fine. The link for my fundraiser is in the show notes every week. James's will be in there next week when he launches his charity. All that stuff, technical stuff, is done. It's time to start talking triathlon, Jimbo. Mate, I feel like the obvious place to start is in New Zealand.
No. Yes.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. You. That's what I was going to say. I was going to trick people, and I think I was talking about New Zealand. But you had a piece of news that you wanted to start with that is from New Zealand. So, mate, tell me what happened. It was
New Zealand. Yeah, so Brayden Currie got hit by a cow. He was out training. He was out training on his bike. Now, it sounds funny, but it was quite dangerous in the moment. It could have been a lot worse. And fortunately, he's come out of it with an injury, but nothing as bad as it could have been. And he said, this weekend was definitely one for the books. While on a run out on the west coast, I found a cow who'd gotten stuck upside down. So being my usual hero self, I helped flip her over. But, plot twist, she wasn't a fan of my kindness. Out of nowhere, she got to her feet, turned her head, and at that moment I saw the intent in her eyes, and I knew she wanted to kill me. I started to run away and dodge her, but I fell over and tried to roll away from her trajectory. She ran over to me, but only managed to land one hoof square on my calf. The other hoof landed between my legs, millimeters from my manhood. The hoof that landed on me ended up snapping my fibula and bruising my calf.
What the? Jesus.
Yeah, and then he said, I fared all right in retrospect. A few days later, on my way out of the bush, we found out from the farmer that 15 minutes later, another group tried to flip her too. This time she went on a rampage, injuring one of them pretty badly. He had to be airlifted, so feeling super lucky it wasn't worse, and I'm just taking it easy, ready for a comeback soon.
Don't you love the thought this cow's just like trying to sunbake or have a lay down? Yeah. And people keep coming and lift it. For fuck's sake, just let me lay down.
Leave me alone.
It's like
I'm just lying down.
Brayden's like the third person. Yeah, the first two people, the cow's like, oh, okay, yeah, thank you for helping. Okay, yep, have a good day. Second one's like, okay, they're gone. Oh, fuck, lays back down. Second person, like, okay, thank you.
All right, whatever. Yeah, fuck off. Brayden comes along. Like,
listen, motherfucker, fuck off. Leave me. Fourth one. That's it. Go and post.
You're airlifting this motherfucker out of here.
I told you to let me lay down. You brought this on yourself.
A snapped fibula and a bruised calf, and an almost catastrophic accident with his nether regions, which the hoof of a cow is not something that you ever want to consider coming anywhere near that particular part of your body.
Cows are heavy, man. Cows are
heavy, man. Yeah. Cows are fucking heavy.
I mean, I feel like there's some joke in the James about how it would be a very different situation if you came across a sheep, but obviously we're much more high taste than that on Talking Triathlon, so we will leave the Kiwi sheep shacking jokes alone.
I mean, everyone always has to go to Australia for all its deadly animals. I think New Zealand has to have a look at its list now, and cows are probably up there.
Do you know what they say? So it is funny about New Zealand that you've got, like, when you think of what's the native animal of New Zealand?
The kiwi.
A flightless
bird.
defenseless bird. And the reason that is their, like, icon is because there's literally no predators in New Zealand. New Zealand has evolved predatorless, except for now they've got feral animals. Yeah, compared to Australia, which has snakes and spiders and goannas and all sorts of things. But
drop bears.
Yeah, I mean, drop bears are serious. I saw it, yeah. Honestly, for our Americans, especially in particular, coming here, just be aware that when you do come here, you need to really watch out for those drop bears, because everybody talks about the koala bear, but there is the drop bear, the close cousin.
The cousin of the koala bear, yeah.
Yeah. Very, very scary stuff.
So I just thought I'd bring that to the attention of the listeners, because you've got to be careful. You've got to be careful with livestock, haven't you? Don't go and try and flip cows.
That's why you listen to this podcast, right? We break the big news. Obviously, you know what? Others may be talking about, I don't know, drug tests and stuff. We're talking about
other things that might have happened in New Zealand last
Brayden
weekend.
Currie getting stomped.
The key event. But yeah, before we get to the actual race in New Zealand, where do you want to go next?
I think we should talk about New Zealand.
Oh, you want to talk about the race? Straight in.
Let's go straight into it. We'll do that, and then we'll talk about the previous stuff that else comes up. Let's go to New Zealand, mate. I'm actually pretty keen to talk about it because, yeah, it's good. Pro Series is back. General thoughts before we get into the specifics?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, being that it's in New Zealand, it's not really my time zone to be watching live. So I woke up to a load of messages in the Patreon group. Everyone in your part of the world have been watching live and enjoying the show. I think on the women's side, we had a fairly predictable winner from my perspective. I would say predictable. On the men's side, I wasn't expecting the winner that we had. And I don't know whether it was really just that one key event on the bike that ruined it for Blummenfelt completely, or whether there are other elements of the race. Where do you want to start, men's or women's?
Let's start because there's actually a whole range of things. I think this is the thing. It's like a talking triathlon tradition. I think at this point, I feel like the place to start before we talk about the specifics of the actual racing is to talk about the broadcast, because new year, new commentary team. We spoke last week about how excited we were about Will McCloy coming to the commentary team.
Did they miss the start?
Yeah, that's why. That, to be honest, is why I thought we should actually specifically talk about the broadcast to start with, and that is because it wasn't good. In fact, I was surprised at how much Ironman seems to have forgotten how to broadcast a race, considering I actually think last year, with the exception of the actual specific commentary, I thought their broadcast in particular was quite good. This one was weird, mate, because, yeah, they missed the start of the race. Again, it was too early for me as well because New Zealand's 3 hours ahead of us. But the timing splits were always wrong. They had different names. It was a bit of a shambles all over the place. And I was surprised because, yeah, like I said, I think I would have thought it's just like, we'll just do what we did last year, but it wasn't the case. They missed the start of the race, Jimbo.
Okay, so they missed the start of the race, and the timing chips, therefore the leaderboard on the side of the screen was wrong, was it?
I don't know if it was the actual timing chips, but yeah, the leaderboard was just a shambles. Like there was, instead of even being in order, it'd be like, 1, 2, 3, and then the person who was actually in 12th would be in 4th place, but the gap was correct, so it'd be like minus 12:30. But then it was just weird things, and then like I know that at one point I was watching the race, and I feel like it was on the run where it had the gap, Pierre Le Corre's gap to Trevor was less, and then I was like, oh shit, I think Pierre's going to catch him, and then I look back and it's like 2 minutes difference, and I'm like, what the heck? Like it got to the point where you couldn't, like, to me, I couldn't trust what I was seeing on the screen, and even what Rinny and Will were saying in commentary was different to what was on the screen. So it was just purely as a...
And did that translate to the tracker as well? Was the tracker out?
The tracker wasn't out. I think Trevor Foley might have had a timing chip malfunction or something, because he wasn't on you couldn't see him really on the tracker, or it didn't seem to be correct for a long time. But the tracker seemed to have a huge lag in it, or like I said, I actually don't really know how to explain it, because what you're seeing on the actual video, what the leaderboard was showing and what the tracker was,
And what
didn't
the
seem
commentators were saying were all
didn't seem to
different,
make
right?
sense. Yeah, it wasn't. It was just like I couldn't work out which was the actual.
So it sounds like basically there was just a bit of a glitch going on throughout the whole thing.
Mm.
Which means, I mean, if the commentators are saying something different to what you're seeing on screen, then that would lead you to believe they're seeing a different picture.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of what I thought.
How was the glitch aside? I mean, they must have had to react to that in the moment, and
Yep.
it can't have made it easy. So we have to give the commentary team some leeway, I think. How was the commentary team?
Yeah, look, I think I've come out saying I think Will's going to be the saving grace of everything. And while Will is very, very good at what he does, I think it shows that it's just really hard to commentate an 8-hour event. Like it was definitely an improvement. It wasn't the best. Like, it wasn't like, oh my God, this is perfect, right? If that makes sense. I don't want to sit here and say, oh, because of Will, it was absolutely perfect. I don't think Will did a bad job. I don't think Rinny did a bad job. I think it's just another example of what I've sort of spoken about recently, where I feel like it's just highlighting that this is a very hard thing to actually show live. I do still feel like you need, I mean, I've always said I think Will needs to be more of the anchor rather than, like, you know, you need Will plus, I think you need two. You need two athletes and then a Will. Because
Yeah, I agree with that. I think 100% you need two ex-athletes who Will can defer to for your technical information, and then you need someone like him anchoring the broadcast, and then you
going to
probably
ad breaks and
you need a roaming commentator as well.
yeah, I think that's
You
what I mean.
throw to.
They did have roaming commentators. So they had, I think it was Haley Chura and Tim Reed who were on the ground. I think they were great. I think Tim Reed is actually really, really well suited to that role. I think the other issue, I know,
Strange, isn't it, that sometimes they really nail it. Like you say, the gap between where they have been in certain races and where they are now. Like, for example, 70.3 Swansea last year when they had Joe and Fraser Cartmel on as roving reporters. They nailed that broadcast. It was brilliant.
yeah. I mean, the logistics, what Will's in Spain, Rooney's in America, like that can't be super easy either. But one thing I did hear Will say, now this is a bit of behind, like inside baseball, but you know this as well. So you know Graham, who did the stats and stuff for Super Try, he was our stats guy at Sub 7. I heard Will on the broadcast talking about the stats guy Graham, and I know that Graham and Will work closely together. So I actually think that Ironman have brought Graham across to help with the stats. And that was something that Will was doing. So that, you know, predicted based on current paces, it expected that Cat Matthews will win by 7 minutes or things like that. That was a very, very positive change. If that is something that has happened, I'll have to reach out to Will and confirm that. But Graham, his name's Graham Atchison. For anybody who is interested, is very, very, very smart, very, very wonderful guy who is an absolute geek for this shit. And like when we did Sub 7, I was doing the social media updates. I literally, everything, we were in the WhatsApp group that Graham was putting all the stats. I just copy paste them as Twitter updates. That's what I was doing because it was so interesting. So yeah, look, I don't want to talk about this for fucking the whole episode, but some positive signs, obviously some technical issues, but again, I don't think it's not from negligence. It's just this stuff happens, you know, live broadcast is difficult. Main thing is the race looks fucking incredible. I think Ironman New Zealand is such a stunning spot for a race. This is, in my opinion, this is where the Pro Series should start. I think if the Pro Series is here to stay, this should be it's the second oldest Ironman in the world. This is how it should start every year because it was very, very good. And as we're going to talk about now with the actual racing, I think that a lot of it lived up to it. So, yeah. That's the broadcast bit. Well done, Will. Good to hear you out there, mate. It was actually nice to message him during the race a bit and have him, I think he referred to me as one of the geeks because he asked a question about the fastest marathon. I was like, it's Messias 2:26, mate. He's like, oh, one of the nerds has come back to me. I'm like, thanks, McCloy. Thanks, mate. Yeah, the race itself, mate. Let's talk about the men's race because it does seem like this was a tale of two races. And I want to say that I feel like the men's and the women's race were very different. And I also think that they also show the impact of the 20-minute draft differently too, because that's something I know I've been very vocal about not really liking. I think you've sort of jumped. I think again, from a fairness point of view, yes, but from a broadcast. And I think that this is an interesting way of applying and talking about it because it did go the way I expected it in the women's race. and it absolutely didn't go the way I expected it to in the men's race. So let's start with the men's race, and we'll go from there.
Do it, mate. Do it.
What do you want me to do? I'm taking notes for the time codes.
Okay. So the men's race, and it finished with Trevor Foley winning ahead of Pierre Le Corre, Matt Hansen, Jack Moody, Mike Phillips, Kristian Blummenfelt. In sixth, Trevor Foley won it in 7:46.43 ahead of Pierre Le Corre's 7:48.25 ahead of Matt Hansen's 7:50.38. Really, it looks like it was the bike and the run that won it for Trevor Foley.
I mean, definitely was, and this is where I think. I mean, first of all, I hinted at this, the 20-minute draft. If you had told me at the start of this race the athletes that would probably be impacted the most by the 20-minute draft, I would have said Pierre Le Corre, Jack Moody, Matt Hansen. I know a lot of people have been umming and ahhing about Kristian. I think Kristian's quite a strong bike rider, but those three athletes in particular were the ones that I felt would probably suffer the most as a result of the 20-minute draft. And they're second, third, and fourth. So that's why I was like, okay, fuck, that didn't sort of equate with what I would have expected. And again, obviously I work with Mike, talk with Mike what the dynamics were during the ride. It sounds like even the guys while racing were surprised at what some of the things were happening. I don't know really where to start. Like, yes, they're the results. Congratulations, Trevor Foley. I'm not surprised he won, to be honest. I feel like if there's been hints at how good Trevor Foley is, probably over a year ago, and this was just sort of like, yep, okay, this is back to sort of, what I expect. Bad swimmer. Like, objectively, he's not a great swimmer. Incredible bike runner. And that's what he sort of did here.
Yeah, I mean, he dropped to 4:14.15 on the bike, which was, considerably quicker than almost everyone else. I think the closest in the top 10 was Mike Phillips with his 4:16.01. But then he backed up that 4:14.15 with a 2:35.42 run, which was not the quickest in the top 10. Matt Hansen went quicker, but, when he was riding 6 minutes slower, so it ain't going a minute quicker on the run isn't going to win you the race. But out of everyone in the top 10, he was head and shoulders the best bike runner out of everybody on there.
Well, look, I've got the actual splits up now. So you've got that group of like Matt Hansen. Matt Hansen, to be honest, fucking had the race of his life because Matt's not really a great swimmer. Matt swam 49.57, which is really good. But you got Jake Moody 49.58. Mike was 49.55. Kristian was 49.49. So the fact you've got Matt Hansen basically swim with Kristian is well done, Matt Hansen. Compared to Trevor Foley's 52-minute swim. So I think very quickly to me, I was like, okay, something weird is going on here because Matt Hansen passed Kristian very early in the bike. And again, I know Matt. I have a lot of time for Matt. Don't necessarily think he's the strongest cyclist in the sport. So when he started passing Kristian, I don't know whether that was like, shit, Matt Hansen's on for a good day here, or something's up with Kristian. And chatting with some other people during the race, they were like, I don't think Kristian's got it today. People then see that Kristian lost one of the aero bars. So he was riding with one aero extension, holding the other one. It looked like he had a gun in his hand. But yeah, sort of,
in my opinion, that's kind of what ruined Peter Kristian's day. You don't count him out. He swum a 49.47. It's fine. And then he gets on the bike and his aero extension falls off. That is enough to derail his day. It took the commentary team some time to figure out what had happened. Initially, they thought it was like a chew bar or something, like an energy bar at one point, I think, that he was holding. But it was his aero extension that had come off and he was holding in his hand. That would scuffy a day. It's happened to me, mate. I have had a race where in the UK where my aero extension came off and I just had to do the race with one bar whilst holding on to the other one, and it makes you go a lot slower.
I think that a lot of people have been like, how can they work it out? The reality is, though, is with the Norwegians, it could just be some new technical thing that they've discovered, that if you hold something between your arms, you're more aerodynamic, or some new piece of tech that they've discovered. let's go even further. So Kyle Smith, first out of the water and just absolutely rode away. Kyle faded towards the back end of the marathon. I don't think I really
Faded hard as well.
Yeah, I've never really. I'm yet to see a true Ironman performance from Kyle Smith, which is again met what I believe is his potential. I think Kyle's extremely talented.
He's too used to running these T100 events,
Yeah.
isn't he? If it was the T100, he just smoked everybody.
It seemed like because he did. He went backwards real fast, like very, very fast. And then,
like a motherfucker.
but anyway, so you get off the bike, blah, 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 blah. We have this run where Kyle starts fading and then all this movement starts happening behind him, where you've got Trevor Foley running through, Kristian's back, Jack Moody's running through, Matt Hansen's running through, and it's like, what's going to happen? And what we ended up getting in the men's race was this very, quite interesting scenario where, Trevor Foley goes to the front of the race and everyone's talking, Matt Hansen's on track. Again, I spoke about Graham. Matt Hansen's on track he could run a 2:20-something marathon. I think at this pace, he's running a 2:25 marathon pace. And it looked like it. It looked like that gap was coming down very, very quickly. It looked like Matt Hansen is going to win this race. And then Matt starts to slow down. And then you have Pierre Le Corre. And I think the gap Pierre got to Trevor, I got down to about 40 seconds at one point. I'm talking, I'm rounding up or down, I can't remember. And then same thing, started to pull it back. And it just seemed like Trevor just went out there and did a very solid, got to the front of the race and just stayed, solid and ended up winning quite comfortably. I think there was a couple of minutes. Sorry, I just had it open. He ended up winning by just under 2 minutes. No, that's not it. He won by, literally just under 2 minutes. I was correct. For a great way to start the Pro Series. Trevor Foley is now leading the Pro Series, the 5,000 points, and made it quite difficult, I think, for a lot of other people who are also pursuing the Pro Series this year because of just how rapid things were on. He ran a 2:35 marathon. I think slightly easier course from talking to some of the guys, slightly easier course than last year because they did change the course. The bike course is very different to last year, and the run course is slightly different. But yeah, good performance by Trevor Foley.
It does make it interesting, and it certainly makes it interesting from Kristian Blummenfelt's perspective, who is the current Pro Series champion, because he would have come into this race expecting to be right up there, maybe take the victory, start the Pro Series with a win, give him some leeway for later in the year. Whereas now he's saying that if Texas goes well, he might consider fitting in another Ironman to make up for New Zealand. And if Texas goes badly, he's going to write off the Pro Series altogether and focus on Kona.
And this is definitely something that I wanted to chat about because I feel like it shows just how fickle this whole Pro Series is. And it seems like each year we have an athlete that we sort of expect to just go like again, last year it was Magnus. Magnus is just going to go and he's going to demolish the Pro Series. It's honestly at the point now where one bad Ironman can basically derail the whole thing. And
I don't think so.
But I was going to say, I think with Kristian, though, it's the Roth thing. Because if you take out Challenge Roth, this isn't so difficult. He can easily pick up, is it Lake Placid or Frankfurt? He can do those and he's sort of back on track. The fact that he's committed to Roth, that's what I think makes this suddenly a lot more difficult for him. But say what you were going to say.
No, I agree with you. And I think the only reason he's committed to Roth is because he listens to this podcast. He's heard me say he's never going to win Kona and that he's internalized that. And he's now picking up other races he wants to do so that he can build a Palmares rather than anchor all his hopes on Kona. No, I think you're right. One bad Ironman can derail someone's Pro Series challenge. But I think Kristian's quite a specific case because I think he had a bad time in Kona and he really wants to focus on that race and doesn't. He wanted to pick up early Pro Series points, give himself a chance at that. Then he'll go and do Roth, and then it was all in for Kona. He doesn't want to be fucking around later in the year trying to get Pro Series points. So being that this hasn't gone that well, I think he's the kind of guy who would just go, not this year. This year,
I hope so. What this has also made me aware of is there's not many Ironmans in the Pro Series. Because, again, I was actually chatting, that doesn't matter who, but when we were talking about the options, it's like there's not really that many options this year because you've got New Zealand, you've got Texas, you've got Frankfurt, you've got Hamburg for the women, which is the women's race. You've got Lake Placid, and I think it's maybe there's the Sweden one as well. I think it's what's it called? But there's not really that many Ironmans. So in my head, there was a lot more Ironmans in the Pro Series. I think, like I said, there's maybe 6 total, including Kona. It just means that it does really make it. You can understand why an athlete like Kristian's like, I'm going to preload the season and then put all my focus into Kona. It does. The Roth thing is a fascinating little wrinkle. I was even saying, I wonder if he'll, defer Roth and go, okay, maybe not. But I think you're right. I think that he's smart enough to just go, I'm not going to belt myself trying to pursue the Pro Series this year at the risk of Kona. I want Kona.
And he's probably getting enough of the appearance fee from Roth that would negate the Pro Series prize money anyway.
Not that, no, I don't think it's. I mean, the Pro Series. I mean, he could. The thing is, it's not like it's all over either. He could still.
No.
We've seen a lot of athletes who have, I think the year Gregory Barnaby won it the first year, didn't really star, but was just consistently up there. Like, he finished what? What are we talking? He was 6th place. So he was he 15? Okay, he lost a lot of points, right, based on the second thing. But, if he goes to Texas and has a good race and does well in Oceanside and Geelong, things could be back on track. And don't forget Kona's bonus points. So, it's interesting. That's all I'll say. I'm fascinated to see what he does. Outside of Kristian and the Pro Series and outside Trevor Foley, how about Pierre Le Corre, mate? Ironman debut, said that he had only done one ride over 180 kilometres in training and then drops a 7:48 on debut in one of the tougher courses in the world.
Yeah, too right. I mean, his swim was one of the fastest on the day, if not the fastest.
Was the fastest?
And he bikes a 4:18.27 and runs a 2:36.18, which is one of the fastest runs of the day. So yeah, this man translates into quite the Ironman racer, it turns out.
Which, again, you wouldn't. I know I keep referring to things we've spoken about before, but it's another short course athlete that has come through. I believe a lot of people probably have said that the 20-meter draft is going to particularly impact those short course athletes. Pierre Le Corre is one of those athletes, as I said earlier, I would have expected. No, just seems to have just had a really good, consistent, solid. Like, what did you say? He was the fastest swim, he was the 3rd fastest bike, and he was the 8th fastest bike, fastest swim, 3rd fastest run. That's a pretty consistent day out for me, I think.
Oh, it is. That's a triathlete, that isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's someone who can balance no particular weakness across 3 sports and come out with a 2nd place and a really, really solid time.
I'm happy because I talked about Pierre so much in lead up about how, like, let's see what he does, and I think he did well. Matty Hansen, honestly, so happy for this. Matt Hansen, just a grafter, just an absolute grafter, and he went out there and grafted, and like you said, fastest run with a 2:34, had the 11th fastest bike 4:20, and the 14th fastest swim 49:57. I honestly couldn't believe how he was so far up on the bike. I thought, what the hell is happening? He definitely dropped towards the end. But I am so impressed because, if Matt Hansen is ever within striking distance, Yeah,
you don't want him chasing you down, do you? Good Lord.
And this did come down to the run, really. Like, this really did become the run battle that we were sort of talking about last week, where you had those, Jack Moody, Pierre Le Corre, Trevor Foley, all these guys running really, really well. I said it before. I've always said I didn't think the 20-meter draft would lead to good race. In this situation, 100% I was incorrect. The 20-meter draft, I didn't even notice it, to be honest, apart from I'm surprised by stuff, but it didn't impact the experience for me. In fact, this was one of the better runs we've seen in an Ironman because it didn't really ever just feel like even when Trevor Foley had the thing in the bag, it still was this but he could still get caught. Like, it didn't really become apparent until about 5K to go. So, this is one where Tim was wrong. I'm not sure I am wrong overall. We'll see as the races continue. But in this particular race, in the men's race, definitely I was wrong about the impact it would have on the broadcast.
Yeah, agreed. I think one race down, we'll see how things roll out. Should we talk about the women's race?
Let's talk about the women's race. And much like I said, the impact on the 20-minute draft in the men's race, it did exactly what I expected it to do in the women's race. Kat Matthews came in out of the swim with a bit of a gap, rode through to the front, and just won comfortably. Just smiling at people, talking to people on the run. It was Kat did what we expected her to do.
Yeah, she really did. Kat Matthews took the win in 8:28.53 ahead of Hannah Berry in 8:35.41 and Lotta Wilms in 8:39.56 ahead of Tamara Jewett, Daniela Lewis, and Reagan Hollyoak in sixth. And it was a dominating victory, wasn't it? I mean, Kat come out slightly behind in the swim, but then bikes a 4:38, which is the fastest bike of the day, and runs a 2:51, which is the fastest run of the day. To really just
Second
underline.
fastest. Second
Who was
fastest.
faster?
Tamara Jewett ran a.
Tamara
she ran
Jewett
a-
ran a 2:42. Sorry, I missed that. Yeah.
That's fucking diabolical on that course, mate.
I know, yeah. So second fastest run, but a very, very solid bike run performance that just underlined a dominant victory. There was a point where I thought Tamara Jewett was going to take the win. I was convinced.
Really?
But I would soon prove wrong.
I mean, she was only 13 minutes. But maybe if she ran a sub 2:30, it would be a bit 2:20 marathon, and she could have been in the running. No, look, the other factor with Kat is the fact that she was off the front all day. Well, not all day. Halfway through the bike, she leads. She probably could have run faster. This is just her doing what she needs to do to win it. It went almost exactly what happened is almost exactly what I expected to happen. Hannah Berry, I think, improved her PB. I think her PB run split before this was just over 3 hours. Today she ran that on the weekend she ran 2:58. So that's like Hannah has really built that momentum that she got from the fourth place in Kona to this first time racing Ironman New Zealand. Really, really fantastic. A lot of Wilms, another athlete who is we speak about those athletes who, like I said, Gregory Barnaby, do the Pro Series, always there or thereabouts. Lotta did that last year. She would have been one of the fastest swimmers there. She was second fastest swim, third fastest bike, fifth fastest run, 3:02. But yeah, this is what I think the 20-meter draft is going to lead to. Very individual racing. Like Kat's performance, exceptional. Wasn't an entertaining race.
No. This is one of those races where you've got to doff your hat at someone's performance and say, well, that wasn't particularly entertaining when it was happening. But I can reflect on it and say, well done.
Kat Matthews is just the most consistent athlete in the sport at the moment. Every time she lines up, hats off Kat Matthews because, yeah, every time she races, she's there or thereabouts. Unless, she's had some horrible luck with injury over the last couple of years, but you take those away, she has got to be one of the most consistent athletes, both men's and women's racing. It is so impressive to see of everybody who has sort of tried and failed to whatever. Kat has nailed it. Whatever they are doing, she knows how to race this longer pro season across distances and do everything really, really well. And it's very impressive.
Yeah. She said she found it a bit hard when she got dropped maybe a kilometer into the swim. And she said, I felt like I was in no man's land. It's the hardest thing, I think, being on your own in the swim for about 40 minutes, which, yeah, I can feel that. She definitely came out behind on the swim. But then she said the energy on the run course is incredible. Even 2 kilometers in, I was welling up. Everyone's so excited and so positive and so enthusiastic. I was thinking, guys, calm down, please. I've got 3 hours to go. I felt like I couldn't give back as much as I wanted to because everyone was screaming.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful location for a race. But, this field had some of the best swimmers in women's triathlon. Like, Lotta Wilms, Fenella Langridge, Rebecca Clark. They're 3 very, very, very strong swimmers. So, yeah, of course, Kat's going to not be able to stick with them, but she's just got so much strength in that bike and run. And look, her swim is not bad. Kat Matthews is she's not one of those Joe Skippers or Lionel Sanders who can't swim but bikes and runs really well. Like she is a much...
Yeah, she's a good, decent swimmer. But yeah, you're quite right. And I think, yeah, you are correct. This is the... I think even without the draft rule changes, she would have won this race comfortably. But it would have been a different dynamic on course. We'd have seen a pack closer to her off the bike. And I don't think we'd have seen her get caught on the runway. Look,
there is no world in which this happens. But so Tamara Jewett was, a minute 15 down. If there was some situation where Tamara Jewett and Kat got out of the water closer and Tamara could stick with her on the bike so that gap wasn't as big as it was off the bike.
On the back of a pack, yeah.
Imagine what we then would have been. We had this race where kind of like what we've seen with Kat Matthews and Taylor Knipp, where Kat Matthews is off the front and Kat's and Tamara's chasing her down, then suddenly the dynamic, even if they never catch, it's that potential that gets so exciting. There was literally, it was nothing. It was just Kat off the front doing Kat. One thing that I did enjoy was that at one point, I think Kat came to Kyle, or Kyle came to Kat, and Kyle couldn't drop Kat. So Kat Matthews and Kyle Smith just running, the leader of the men's and the leader of the women's race running together. I think it just shows the class of Kat Matthews.
One of them started cramping up and fell out the back of the race, and one didn't.
Correct. Great start to the Pro Series. There's no need to run through the actual standards because it is the results, because it is the only Pro Series race that we've had so far. I said it before, Ironman New Zealand should be the official start of the Pro Series every single year. And I like that it started with an Ironman as well. It's the right way to do it, I think. But next year, let's get even more pros down to New Zealand because it is such a good race.
You know what, when she said she was on her own for 40 minutes in the swim?
What?
You know when she said she was on her own for 40 minutes in the swim?
Yes.
Do you know what I hope she had with her?
Mate, that is a incredible segue. Tell me about it.
I hope she had a really good pair of goggles, because you don't want to get the sun glare off that water when you're on your own and there's no one around you. And talking about really good quality goggles, we have got a special offer from our friends at Hoob. And this week and this month, I think, it's going to be all about goggles. They've asked us to help to put a spotlight on their goggle range. And to make it interesting for listeners, they are offering every listener of Talking Triathlon 50% off any pair of Hoob goggles. So that's half price. All you need is the code goggle-50. So that's GOGGLE-50, all lowercase, at checkout, and you'll get 50% off across the entire Hoob goggle range. And that offer is exclusive to listeners of this show. You won't find it anywhere else. They also asked us to highlight, now that code can be used on any goggle you want, but they asked us to highlight two of the models of goggles that they've got that they want people to know about. The first is the Aphotic, which is the world's best-selling triathlon goggle. It features a photochromatic lens that automatically adapts to changing light conditions. So if you're swimming into the sun, then you turn to a buoy or a buoy if you're in America, and the light suddenly changes. Within about 45 seconds, the lens has reacted and adjusted to the new conditions. So essentially, you get the right tint for the right light without needing to swap goggles. The Aphotic has been in the Hoob range for over 10 years and continues to be the best seller year after year. The second is the Altair, which is a modular goggle system. With the Altair, you can swap lenses depending on the conditions, so yellow, light smoke, dark smoke, and adjust the fit with different gaskets. But what really sets the Altair apart is that it can take prescription lenses ranging from -1.5 all the way to -6. And that means if you're short-sighted, you can still use a proper performance goggle rather than the basic prescription goggles you normally find elsewhere. So whether you want light reactive Aphotic or the fully customizable Altair, Hoob have you covered. And remember, listeners of the show get 50% off any Hoob goggle using the code goggle-50. So if you head out to their website, check out their range, grab a pair while the offer is live.
Goggles are important. There's nothing more annoying than swimming, doing a horrible swim set and your goggles start leaking. So
it's true. And there's nothing more annoying than having to spend money on goggles, because they're just this ancillary thing. So having a 50% code to make it cheaper, absolutely banging, especially when you're looking at the sort of goggles of the high quality that Hoob make.
I will definitely be using this code because I am weirdly obsessed with goggles, and I find a pair that I like and then I just buy like 10 pairs. So yes, I will definitely be using that code. Thank you, Jimbo. Thank you, Hoob.
No drama.
Mate, you know what? It sounds like we have a few big races coming up, not this weekend, next weekend. And one of them, their start list is out. And the other one, their start list is changing constantly. Which would you like to start with?
Let's talk about the T100 Gold Coast.
T100 Gold Coast.
Dramatic news that world champion Kate Woff will not be on the starting lineup for this month's opening race of the T100 Triathlon World Tour after revealing she's recovering from a calf injury. Hopefully, she hasn't been trodden on by a cow.
No, not in Australia. I don't think it'd be a cow-related incident in Australia. Yeah, it's not. So yes, the article you reference highlights that Kat Matthews, Jesus, Kate Woff has withdrawn from T100 Gold Coast, but she's not the only one. We've also had Lucy Byram has withdrawn. Ash Gentle has withdrawn. Also congratulations, Ash Gentle and Josh Amberger.
Oh yeah,
On
big talking triathlon. Congratulations to those two.
Absolutely, and completely understand her making the decision not to race, considering the potential of what happened last year. So fantastic, nothing but love and congratulations there. But yeah, mate, this start list is it's changing rapidly, and yeah, it's not good.
No, we're seeing the start of the season dynamics play out, aren't we? Where people are making changes and deciding whether to travel or not to travel. I certainly think right now, if I was coming from Europe and I had to fly to Australia for a race, I'd be having second thoughts.
She's already here. That's the funny thing. I think most of them are already here.
That. I'm just talking about anybody really.
See, if I was British or European at this time of year, I'd be coming out here for a few months thinking it's absolutely grim up there. You might as well come down to paradise. Gold Coast in particular.
Just don't fly through the middle of the world right now.
I mean, there's, as I well know, there's many different ways. No, again, one of the things I've had to go through the last week was change my flights. I was meant to be flying Dubai in 2 weeks. I've had to change it via Singapore, and it was quite the challenge. I can see, for the foreseeable future, at least, some of these races actually the start list shifting a fair bit. Not only are there a lot of routes that are no longer available, but also airfares have just gone up a lot as a result of gas shortages and things like that. So, yes, that is a very realistic. Oceanside, for example, might have a very different start list. Though you wouldn't anyway. But this start list. So originally we've now lost Kate Woff, Ashleigh Gentle, Lucy Byram out, which means our 20 start list is down to 17, which means they're going to have to find another 3 athletes. Not the ideal start to the season opener for T100. It's not intentional. It's just really unlucky. But you would also assume that the way they've changed, where they don't have the contracts, might mean that they are able to pivot and get some new replacement athletes that could be good.
Yeah, you'd hope so. I mean, like you say, they don't have these contracts. They will have a list of wildcard options that they can bring in. And if I was them, I would be immediately trying to fill these race ranks up, because this is the first women-only race, followed by the first men-only race in the next event.
Singapore.
And it's already gonna suffer for that, I think, in terms of looking like an event that's worth watching. So you want to make sure you've got at least a full field racing. So I'd be on the blower, mate.
I tell you what, I hope they have already done, and if not, do it now, is get on the phone to Georgia Taylor-Brown and get her to that start list, because yeah, it's you need to start with impact. We know Lucy Charles will recover from an injury. Kate Woff is out now. Others, we know that they like to have those big marquee athletes, and there's certainly, Julie Derrin is fantastic. Taylor Neer, obviously. Yeah, it does start to feel like this is, I don't know, it just feels like a bit of the same. I don't know. I'm just getting very similar vibes to, and while they're not contracted athletes or anything, it does feel like we get this initial oh, cool, this is actually really great. And then it just gets a little bit, and again, it's not anyone's fault, but it, as a, the perception, right, is it's okay, I'm getting a little bit less excited about this. Oh, it's another one. Oh, fuck, another. Okay, wow, now another one. Which just does feel a little familiar to me, I suppose.
It has to be a swollen field. You gotta have athletes filling that race. They're filling that race up. It needs to start with a bang, not a whimper.
Yeah, exactly. And I always think back to when they did the non-contract 50 athletes, big prize money races. You had enough names there that it didn't matter if a couple pulled out. That's the problem when you have these smaller fields. 4 athletes withdrawn completely changes that dynamic. From a storytelling point of view, having Kate there as the defending champion, I still struggle with the fact that they've given both Hayden and Kate world number 1 rankings. I'm not conforming to that system, but they would have loved to have the defending champ there to open the season there. So that's, and then again, like, is Kate going to continue the T100 series this year, or is she going to shift to Olympics because qualifications start this year? So does this impact her ability to actually get the required number of races? Like, similar to what we're talking about with the Pro Series, this could potentially completely shift the focus for Kate this year. I don't know. It's not good, mate, basically. This is a very long, roundabout way of me saying I don't think this is a very good thing. And Georgia Taylor-Brown is who will save it for the PTO. So, Georgia.
I agree. And then especially when you look across the other side of the fence and you see the mouth-watering start list for 70.3 Geelong.
Let's talk about it, because mouth-watering is correct.
Mouth-watering to the point it made me drop the men's field anyway into the Patreon group the other day, because I was out and about and that's all I had time to screenshot. But yeah, I mean, on the men's side for 70.3 Geelong, we got Jelle Geens, Kristian Blummenfelt, Hayden Wilde, Jake Whistle, Kyle Smith, Pierre Le Corre. Who else have we got on here? Rasmus Svenningsson.
Wait. Let me come on. I'll have a look at this. And who do I see as well that's there? No, I think you got it.
I got it. Those names alone mean that we're going to see an interesting and engaged race on the men's side. And on the women's, you've got Kat Matthews, Tamara Jewett, Grace Theck, Penny Slater, Steph Clutterbuck. And yeah, again, more interesting star turns on both sides of the field.
While we're talking about Geelong now, but let's not completely drop T100 Gold Coast. I still feel like if you were to merge these two fields into one, suddenly we would have a really exciting race. And I'm not saying it has to be T100 Gold Coast or Geelong 70.3, but now what we have instead is 2 women's fields, which are okay. Do you know? And it's this. I swear to God, if they had have just moved either Gold Coast or Geelong 2 weeks back, if one of these races was in 2 weeks' time, suddenly the athletes who are doing Geelong, you'd probably get a bunch of them to go up and do the Gold Coast. It's this stupid fucking triathlon thing that always happens where let's just put, like, we've got the entire world, right? The entire fucking world. And let's put 2 races in Australia the same weekend. It's fucking stupid, mate. Doesn't make sense. Anyway, the women's field is definitely not as strong as the men's field. Again, Kat Matthews is starting to have that impact. We see her on a start list. Kat's going to win it. But the men's field in particular, mate, Jesus Christ. If I had to pick 3 athletes that I'd like to see line up against each other at the moment, it would be Jelle Geens, Kristian Blummenfelt, and Hayden Wilde. And this is very, very exciting. Now, a lot of people, I think, seem to make this a foregone conclusion. I've seen a lot of people being like, well, Hayden's going to smash this. Hayden's going to win this thing without even trying. Hayden. I'm not so sure, mate. I think there's a certain double 70.3 world champion who might have a bone to pick with people saying that. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Hang on 2 seconds. I've just lost the page that it was on. Yeah, I agree. I think everyone's very excited about the Kristian Blummenfelt-Hayden Wilde matchup. I think this is an opportunity for Kristian and Hayden to show whether or not they can beat Jelle Geens.
And yeah, okay, well done. Because actually, it's true. Kristian's a 2-time 70.3 world champion as well.
Yeah, I just noticed that a lot of people online are saying finally Kristian and Hayden are going to be battling out over this distance. I feel like people are forgetting Jelle Geens. They're forgetting that he's the one that those boys have got to prove that they can beat. Because I just think he might be insurmountable at this race.
And I know that one of the other things a lot of people are saying is, it's early in the season, so you're not going to see the fireworks you expect. And that reminds me of a conversation we had 12 months ago, because when we discussed Geelong 70.3 last year, I think we also expected probably not to see quite the fireworks. But it was absolutely... I'm trying to get the results up now. Didn't Jelle Geens run like a crazy sub 110 half marathon to win the thing over Jake Birtwistle? Like we saw a real run battle. So even early season, we saw some really strong performances, and those three in particular. I mean, Jake Birtwistle too. You add him in there as well, mate. It could lead to fire. I love that Hayden's doing this though.
I do as well. I think it's going to be really interesting whether he's in a position to light a fire under his best 70.3 at this stage in the season. I don't know, but it's really interesting that he's going to be there, because whatever form all three of them are in, they're going to race to their very best of the ability on the day, aren't they? Well,
this is I was stalling while I was doing that. Jelle Geens ran a 107.58 in Geelong last year. This is not a flat course either. To beat Birtwistle, who ran a 108. Like, these are fast times for March. There's always that question mark over Hayden. Is he focusing on middle distance again this year, or are we going to see him go back for the Olympics? I don't know. I think he's probably said some stuff, but no, this start list it's not as deep as I probably would have expected compared to what we've seen with other start lists. And I know that there's a lot of talk about who's racing Oceanside and things like that, but I mean, you put those three and you've got my attention very, 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 very quickly.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think what we've got on the men's side, it's hard to tell. I think I'm convinced Jelle Geens is gonna stomp his dominance on this race. On the women's side, it's easy to say Kat Matthews is going to win this, but because she was so dominant at the Ironman New Zealand, but it's a 70.3. The swim deficit is going to be less, but the bike benefits will be less as well.
You're so wrong, mate. She has no weakness. She's the fucking Terminator. She's just going to come in.
I think there is a chance Tamara Jewett wins 70.3 Geelong.
You love it. I love the commitment. I love the commitment, but you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. Kat Matthews wins this quite comfortably. It's going to be.
Then I'm gonna back my gut feeling and say no. Tamara Jewett's going to win 70.3 Geelong.
Like I said, I respect it. This far out, I mean, we're 2 weeks out, but looking at that, so you reckon it's Jelle Geens is going to win this thing?
I think, yeah, I got a feeling Jelle Geens it's gonna be a bit of an exhibition from him. I think this one.
I think what I predict is Kristian is going to go into the well determined to beat Hayden, win the thing, and completely derail the rest of his season because he has to go so fucking deep to beat those two. This is his 70.3 worlds.
No. Hayden, Kristian wants to beat Hayden.
Yes.
But Kristian's not carrying a desire, a bury himself desire into this race to beat Hayden.
What are you talking about?
No.
It's Kristian Blummenfelt, mate.
He's carrying a bury himself into the well desire to beat Jelle Geens into this race because of what happened in Marbella. He's the one he wants to beat. He's the one he wants to prove that he's got the number of. Not Hayden.
He wants to beat anyone.
But he wants to eat Jelle Geens.
You're right. Hayden wants to beat Kristian more than Kristian wants to beat Hayden because Hayden beat him at the Olympics. It's like, guess what, mate? I got the gold, you got the silver. I think that is a very fair assessment. I just, like I said, knowing Kristian, he would burn every match to win this race not because it's just because that's how he is as an athlete. And that's probably the thing I love about him the most as an athlete is I could see him just absolutely ripping this thing to shreds, winning it, and then because of that suffering for the later on in the year. I mean, maybe he does that. Then maybe Oceanside and Texas don't go to Kona plan. He's just like, fuck this, all in on Kona. Finally wins Kona. Who knows? But it is going to be very, very fascinating to see those boys. Even though we've seen them race since, but like at this distance, I don't think we've really seen Kristian and Hayden do a 70.3 together. So it'll be good. I just wish Matty Hauser was on the start list. Matt Hauser raced or started the race last year and didn't finish it. If you just, Matt, it's not too late, mate. Come on down. Let's get you on that start list too. That would be very, very exciting as well. Jimbo, we are done for this week. We were going to talk about the World Cup racing is starting this weekend in Lanzarote. Main things to talk about is Jean Leher, Georgia Taylor-Brown, Laura Lindemann, and Sophie Evans, formerly Caldwell, are on that start list. Men's race has Dorian Connex as well as others, so that'll be good. There's been a whole bunch of changes to Triathlon Live. I don't really understand a lot of it. There's a lot of stuff. Anyway, I still think that it's silly that people have to pay to watch World Triathlon races, but they've confirmed the commentary team of Belinda Granger and Will McCloy, which is exceptional, something we are looking forward to. So I think World Triathlon Championship Series is going to be great this year. Abu Dhabi's been postponed. That's all the things we didn't get to.
Did you see that Frodeno ran a 1:11:45 half marathon in Paris?
I don't need to talk about this guy who's just fucking excellent at everything.
How does... Yeah, still got it, isn't he?
Just jogged it probably too.
Yeah.
I did see Jan do a cooking video this week, and I thought this is interesting content from Jan Frodeno. But again, he's living that influencer life now, which I love for him.
Same race, Emma Pallant-Brown ran a 1:12:34, so hats off to her as well.
Jesus Christ, coming back. She'll be an athlete we'll see on start list this year too, which will be good. Jimbo, mate, that's it. If people want to find out more, all that stuff, where do they need to go?
If you want to support the show, jump on at patreon.com/talking triathlon. If you want to follow Tim, he's at T414 on Instagram, and I'm at bale.james85 on Instagram. We're also on Instagram as at Talking Triathlon. If you want to join the Patreon group, you get access to the monthly bonus episodes, and the social group will put you in the WhatsApp group, which is constantly fun. If you're not a member of the Patreon group, though, the best way to get in touch is to leave a comment on YouTube, which we will see. And what's that?
Just seeing about some of the comments last week made me chuckle.
Yeah. And yeah, go visit the Who website. Use the code goggle-50 for 50% off their entire range of goggles. Fill up your goggle supplies for the year to come at a discount rate. What's better than that?
People love a bargain in triathlon, and what's better than 50% off? I mean, 60% off, but it's still good. Yep. Also, James's fundraising raffle is going live next week.
Next week will be the start.
Yep, and mine is still there, so the link is in the show notes. Guys, thank you very much for listening. We will be back next week. Until then, Jimbo, talk to you later.
Cheerio.